Looking at Seoul, the transaction demand continues to decline. There are more sellers and fewer buyers, indicating that the market is completely shrinking. You can see that the energy of the market has completely died. Hello, this is Kim Ki-hyun from Richgo. It's been a really long time. I think it's been almost 20 years since I last recognized it, and it feels like I'm filming a broadcast after a long time. During that time, I worked excessively for over 15 years, without hardly any weekends, and I think that accumulated stress has taken a toll. I still don't feel like I'm at 100% condition. Everyone, please be careful of colds. It seems like I've caught a cold, along with a sore throat. Well, fortunately, I am now in a situation where I can speak like a normal person, so I am able to greet you again today after a long time. Today, I will talk about the fresh real estate weekly market trends that were released last Friday. The date I am filming this video is November 19th. This data was released on November 15th, covering the week from November 4th to 9th. So the aggregated data released in the first week has been processed and came out last Friday, and today I am filming this. You can understand it this way. As you can see, the most noticeable thing at a glance is Jeju Island. Jeju Island is significantly extending to the left. Going to the left means that the number of sellers is increasing, while the number of buyers is decreasing, indicating a worsening trading supply and demand. So as you can see here, it rose significantly on November 3rd, and then dropped sharply. Next, in the case of the rental supply, it is fluctuating and gradually decreasing, and at the top is Ulsan. So, Ulsan's trading supply is improving slightly, and the rental supply is still strong. The key data that makes me optimistic about Ulsan is that the rental supply continues to improve. It is the hottest in the country, and the future supply of new apartments will continue to decrease. Therefore, you can see that the rental market in Ulsan is very good. In the case of Cheongbuk, there hasn't been much significant change. So, the slight movement of the arrow indicates that it is an area with almost no change. In the case of Jeonbuk, it has still moved quite a bit to the right. The trading supply has been gradually decreasing, but it rose a bit in the first week of November. In the case of Jeonnam, it is moving to the left again. So the trading market in Jeonnam is still sluggish, but fortunately the rental market is continuing to rise. And I believe that as the rental market continues to rise, there will likely come a time when it will also boost the trading market. Now, as you can see, Daejeon has dropped quite a bit. The drop indicates that the rental supply has worsened. Therefore, the rental supply has decreased significantly, and the trading supply is being maintained under consistently poor conditions. In the case of Gyeongbuk, it has also dropped quite a bit. So, Gyeongbuk's rental supply has decreased, while the trading supply has slightly risen in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Next, Sejong stands out. As you can see, Sejong has finally surpassed 100 and is rising. In other words, the rental supply is finally moving towards a stage of gradual stabilization. So, as you can see, the rental supply has been rising, then slightly dropped, and is now rising again. And since the supply in Sejong is quite small, it is likely that the rental supply will continue to improve, albeit with some fluctuations. And when the rental market stabilizes, it will likely have a positive impact on the transaction market as well. In the case of Sejong, it is showing that it has significantly surpassed the rental supply of 100 and is currently on the rise. Next, in the case of Daegu, the rental supply has been rising, but is now dropping again, and the transaction supply is moving around the average level. Therefore, the Daegu market still does not have favorable rental supply to expect a significant rise. In the case of Daegu, when will it improve? The rental supply needs to exceed 100, then 110, 120, and go up to 130, 140 for the rental market to stabilize and for rental prices to rise, which will then give momentum to the transaction market. I believe that time will come, and it is a concern for many people. Let's take a look at the metropolitan area. If you look at Seoul, the transaction supply is still continuously declining. There are increasing sellers while the number of buyers is decreasing. So the transaction market in Seoul continues to freeze. The rental supply is also slightly declining. But I don't think this is at a significant level. Therefore, the transaction market in Seoul continues to be frozen. You can see it this way. In the case of Incheon, the transaction supply is also continuously declining, but it is still in the red. It is better than Seoul. Next, the rental supply in Incheon is also continuously declining. As you can see, the transaction supply in both Incheon and Seoul is not improving. In the case of Gyeonggi province, the transaction supply is also continuously declining. The rental supply has also been continuously declining, but there seems to be a slight rebound now. Therefore, in the case of the metropolitan area, the transaction market is continuously worsening. You can see it this way. In addition to this, we will look at the data separately for Gangnam and Gangbuk. Now, if you look at it, Gangnam has gone up. In other words, the rental supply has improved slightly. It had dropped significantly, but has now improved a bit. The transaction market is still continuously worsening. Therefore, in the case of Gangnam, the transaction market is still frozen. You can see it this way. In the case of Gangbuk, the rental supply size and transaction supply continuously showing weakness. So, in Gangbuk, as time goes by, week by week, the transaction and rental markets are getting worse. You can see it this way. This time, let's take a look at the transaction trend data that reveals the energy of the market. Looking at the transaction trend data, the most noticeable thing is Sejong. It was at the top and then dropped sharply. In other words, the rental transactions have decreased, moving to the right. This means that transaction deals have increased. If you click to see the transaction deals have slightly increased, the rental market has decreased, but the situation is still not bad. So, is Sejong trying to stretch out a bit? It seems we can check this with the data. Now, most regions like Ulsan, Cheongbuk, Gyeongnam, Gwangju, Incheon, Seoul, and Gyeongbuk are all moving downwards to the left, indicating that both transaction and rental deals are shrinking. We can see that this area is almost at the bottom, and most regions are gathered here. In other words, the market is currently in a situation where transactions have completely shrunk. Let's look at the early part of 2021 when the market was active around March 2021. Now look at this time. At that time there were hot areas like Incheon, but where is everything concentrated now? It's all gathered over here. So most regions across the country are now all in this area, with 25 for rentals and 15 for transactions, all within this range. The market for both transactions and rentals has completely shrunk. However, in Jeju, the rental and transaction volumes have slightly increased compared to the previous week, moving upwards. In Gangwon, there has been a slight increase as well. And in Daejeon, you can see it has moved to the right, indicating a slight increase in transaction volume, while rental transactions have slightly decreased. And Daegu and Jeonbuk have also moved to the right. This means that transaction volumes have increased slightly, but they have also gone down. The rental transactions have decreased. Looking at Seoul, how is it? You can consider the bar graph as just representing the transaction volume. But what is happening? It continues to decrease, right? In other words, what is it now? The transactions are continuously shrinking. This indicates that the energy of the market has completely died. Now what about rental transactions? Rental transactions have now dropped back to the average, so rental transactions are gradually becoming less active. However, starting from the end of November, there will be a significant increase in move-ins, including those in Duncheon Jugun. I expect that this will lead the rental market in Seoul to move in a slightly worse direction. In the case of Incheon, transactions have shrunk significantly. As you can see, the movements in Incheon for both sales and rentals are not much different from last week compared to Seoul. Currently, there is almost no movement compared to last week. It has decreased very slightly, but in the case of Incheon, this range from this point to here indicates the fluctuation. Therefore, it means that transactions in Incheon have become very quiet. So, was it in Gyeonggi province? It went down and to the left, right. In Gyeonggi province, both sales and rentals are shrinking. Therefore, it is clear that the metropolitan area, including Seoul, Gyeonggi, and Incheon, is experiencing a worsening supply situation, and that transaction volume is completely shrinking. So, in real estate, selling when the market is hot is a skill. Starting from September, as time goes on, by November and December, it is likely that even if properties are listed, they will not sell. However, since the market has just finished rising and is now trying to dip, it is natural that asking prices haven't dropped significantly yet. The problem is that the inventory is at an all-time high. If you go into the Richgo and look at the map screen, there is a tab called Property Change Volume. Let's look at Seoul as a whole. How is it? The current inventory is almost at an all-time high, right? So the most recent data is from November 19th, showing 88,656 units. There is currently an almost record high volume of properties for sale, but transactions are completely slowing down. It is clearly visible that the market is entering a very difficult phase, and there are also some gradual changes in certain regions. So, for now, Sejong is gradually moving in a direction where the rental supply is improving a bit, and if this continues for a few months, it is expected to have a positive impact on the property prices in Sejong. So today we have looked at the latest real estate market using the weekly trend data. Thank you.